Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 76, featuring the top 5 comedic characters. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Morehouse, and I am the host of the TrekRanks podcast. And tonight, we got a fun topic. You just heard it. We're doing our top 5 comedic characters. I've been looking for a good topic to showcase the humor in Trek that we all love and know so well. Back in episode 4, a long time ago, we did our top 5 comedy episodes. So I thought this would be a great way to kind of get back into comedy by highlighting our favorite comedic characters. So we'll get into our Diagnostic Cycle and our Prime Directives in a minute, but let's introduce our guests and get into this show. Returning to the show is Mr. Thad Hait, who has been on a couple of times in the past, but he was just telling me it's been a couple of years. I can't believe we've been on long enough so that guests would go 2 years between appearances. We love him. You love him. He's Thad Hait. Thad, are you there?
I am here, and I am happy to be back.
All right. Your shows I just have in my notes here was Scenes in a Shuttlecraft, which is one of my favorites, and our TNG Guilty Pleasures. And also joining us today is, for the second time, is Mr. Ron Worbel, who was recently on for our top 5 sneaky good episodes, and we wanted to get him back on quick. Ron, are you there?
Woohoo! So excited to be back.
Yeah, this topic is going to be awesome. We'll let's get into it. Let's get the TrekRanks recalibration out of the way.
What are you recalibrating?
Everything. It's a sweeping, a recalibration of all systems.
All right, as regular listeners will know by now, general order number 1 here at the TrekRanks podcast is that we love Trek. We love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started. Because our favorite thing to do is just to talk about Star Trek. And as our good friend, the Vulcan Master, likes to remind us each week, the main driver for all of our discussion here at the TrekRanks podcast is
infinite diversity.
Infinite combinations.
No wrong answers. That's right. It's not about being right or definitive in any way. It's just about sharing the things that we love about Star Trek, and we use the ranks as a crutch to do that. We love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline and Discovery and short treks. And guess what, people? Now Picard as well. This is our first episode in the Picard era.
Black alert. Black alert.
So a reminder on that black alert that this episode of TrekRanks is current through Discovery Season 2, all the short treks, and now the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Picard, which is just amazing. All right, and one final reminder that we use episodes as a shorthand, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Hailing frequencies are open.
And you can find TrekRanks on the Net Access interface links at TrekRanks.com, and you can contact me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. You can also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP, at 609-512-5527, or you can always just record your own picks and then just send me a DM, and we can download them that way. Okay, so to wrap it up, Thad and Ron, why don't you guys let everybody know how they can get a hold of you on the Net Access interface? Thad.
The best place to find me is on Twitter. I am at Tyrannicus. That's Tyranicus. Or you can check out my Voyager podcast, Delta Flyer. That's on Twitter at Delta Flyer Pod, or on our website, deltaflyerpod.com. We will be coming back to do Season 3 at some point in the future.
Excellent. And Ron, how about you, man?
Best way to find me is on Twitter at TrekkerRon. I'm also really active on Facebook in the unofficial STLV Facebook group.
Are both of you guys going to be at STLV this year?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 187 days.
All right. So you can also find us at STLV, no matter what year you're listening to this podcast.
That is an accurate statement.
Yes.
Love it.
Let's jump into our level 1 diagnostic to get into this topic.
Diagnostic Cycle will be complete in 20 seconds.
Okay, for this week's Diagnostic Cycle, we're going to ask you guys just to pick a quick favorite non-Trek comedic character, or it could be a stand-up comedian or whatever. Just thought that would be a good way to kind of test the waters on how you're going to approach this topic. And we like to do this when we have topics like this. So, Thad, give us a non-Trek comedic character so we can judge you.
So I'm not really sure how I can define my sense of humor. I just find certain things funny and other things not funny. But I decided I just mentioned my favorite sitcom, which some of you may not have heard of. It was a short-lived show called Better Off Ted, which was about basically a corporate environment in a science research lab, and it was just hilarious. And my favorite character on there, his name was Phil, because he was just ridiculous.
That is interesting. I know about Better Off Ted. I never watched it, though. So it's one season, right? And it got canceled? 2 seasons. Okay.
It's so good. I literally just finished binging that like a month ago on Netflix.
Nice.
All right. Might have to add that to the binge list. How about you, Rob? What's a non-Trek comedic character for you?
So I chose a non-Trek comedic character that would fit into my Prime Directive, so I'll explain the rationale in a minute. But from The West Wing, C.J. Craig, the press secretary.
See, that's great. I love that. Okay. That's a good one. Hilarious.
I love C.J.
So you're going to explain it during your Prime Directive. Okay, got
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
So really quick, I'll just say that the kind of comedy that I love is kind of sarcasm and dry wit and self-deprecating humor. And there's this terrible adage out there that sarcasm is like the lowest form of humor. And to anyone that thinks that is true, I just want to say, oh, you're so smart. Okay. So I had a tough time picking just one character because I don't know. This is a tough one, even though I'm the one that told you to do it. So I have a lot of favorite comedians that are like straight men. I love the kind of the straight men aspect of comedy. So I love Abbott and Costello with Bud Abbott, and they both kind of played the straight men a lot. I love Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry from A Bits of Fry and Laurie from the UK, again, where they both kind of could play the straight man, but ultimately landed on the king of observation comedy, sarcasm, dry wit, and just about every form of humor. He is Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes.
And along with George Costanza, Larry David, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I love them all. Okay, and that will play into kind of the way I made my picks as well. All right, let's get into our Prime Directive and find out why Ron picked C.J. Craig.
I do not concur with your captain's decision.
She's following our Prime Directive.
Define Prime Directive.
All right, Thad and Ron, Prime Directive time. Let's figure out how you guys compiled your list. Ron, let's go to you because I'm dying to hear this.
So my list, I wanted to have people that, Star Trek, in my opinion, is not a comedy show. It's a very serious, very enlightened show. So I wanted characters that have a good history behind them who aren't there strictly to be the comedy relief. I was also looking for characters that were not one time, there was the Outrageous Acuna where we have a comedian stand up. That'd be a really easy one to pick. And I wanted to go with something that has a little bit more background and is a more developed character. Someone that we have storylines behind. So that's where CJ Craig kind of fell in. Very serious character, but when the opportunity presents itself, she's absolutely hilarious.
Okay, I love that. And that is how so many Star Trek characters are. Thad, how about you, man? How did you do it?
So on my previous TrekRanks, I've been very scientific with my Prime Directive.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
But on this one, I can't. I cannot define humor. Humor just while I do find things funny, my understanding of how humor works is similar to Data's in that I don't understand how it works. I just know that some things are funny and some things aren't. So I just picked 5 characters who have made me laugh.
All right, that's perfect. And on your previous ones, actually, Ron, you did that too, right? You did the IMDb kind of.
I did, yeah.
You used the ratings to help kind of guide your Prime Directive. That was because Thad's the one that Thad started that. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, It was the sneaky good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So for mine, mine was really simple. It's actually similar to both you guys because I did just a straight brainstorming of characters that I've loved through the years and think are comedic in terms of their one-liners and timing and ability just to make me laugh. That's the easy part. But then I also ended up kind of looking at series regulars, and I ended up not picking any kind of one-off characters. I went with kind of big, prominent characters. And like you said, Ron, I think Star Trek, I always describe it's an anthology show, right? So one week it can be a comedy, one week it can be a Western, the next week it can be a mystery. And I think that comedy aspect is also reflected in my list a little bit. Okay, so this is going to be interesting to see if we have any duplicate picks, because who knows? This could easily happen, or it might not. We'll find out after Third Demoticon introduces us to the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Thanks, Third Demoticon, and as always, just a quick reminder on how we're going to go through the order of things. First, each of us will reveal our 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease our pick. Then we'll name our top comedic character, and then the specific episode that we are associating with that character. And then we'll talk about why that pick made our list, and at the end, we'll ask everyone for a few secondary system selections for the picks that maybe just missed our list. And as always, if we have any duplicates, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. Okay, Thad, we're going to kick this off with you, man. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 comedic character?
All right. So my 5 words are time-traveling con man extraordinaire. My hashtag is crossing the streams a bit, and it's timey-wimey. And it's from TNG Season 5, Episode 9, A Matter of Time, Berlinghoff Rasmussen, played by the incredible actor Matt Frewer.
That is an awesome pick. Matt Frewer is amazing.
Yes, he is great in everything he does. And in this episode, he's just funny. Almost every line he has is amusing. He plays the character in such a amusing way in that you would never actually want to interact with this guy. But watching him with the crew and watching the crew get increasingly annoyed by him is very amusing.
I love it. Ron, what's your take on Berlinghoff Rasmussen?
It's a great pick. I love that episode. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that role originally supposed to be played by Robin Williams?
I have heard that as well.
Yeah, that's the one.
I don't know if I love Robin Williams. I love everything. I laugh at anything, but I'm not sure he would have been able to pull off that role as well as the actor who performed it did.
Well, Berlinghoff Rasmussen is amazing. My favorite line in this episode is when Picard's trying to kind of implore him to maybe give him a hint on which way to go. And they make the decision, and Geordi's like, okay, well, I'm going to stay down here and help these guys. And Rasmussen just goes, "The forge remains below."
Yes.
I love.
Yeah, it's the little things like that where he's like, "Oh, that's how tall you are," and stuff like that. It's like, because he's making it all up. He's just saying these random things to make it appear as though he knows what he's talking about, and it's great.
Yeah, that's a classic episode for sure. All right, that is a great start. Matt Frewer, amazing. Orphan Black, Eureka, everything he's ever been in. Max Headroom, of course. Okay, Ron, what is your number 5 pick?
So my 5 words and hashtag are the trial never ended captain. Hashtag Captain Picard is his beloved pet. And I chose Q from Next Generation Episode 3, or Season 3, Episode 13, Deja Q. In this scene, the scene that came to my mind when I was thinking about comedic scenes with Q was when he's in main engineering, and all of a sudden realizes he's hungry. He's never experienced hunger before.
Yes.
And he describes it as just so funny and something John Delancey hits it so spot on.
Oh man! So I love this pick because I knew Q was going to be part of this show. He's obviously one of the most hilarious characters in Trek history, and I love your 5 words and a hashtag because when Data says he refers to you, he says Q often referred to you as his beloved pet, and I can't remember how he metaphorically, of course, Captain, or something like that. Yes, so genius. I mean, God, Q, so many lines. Is there a Jean-Luc Picard here? Oh my God, Q. What's your take on Q, Thad?
I love Q. And Deja Q, this episode is amazing. Although, actually, my favorite line from this is not technically a Q line. It's a straight line. It's when Q says, "What must I do to convince you I'm mortal?" And Worf just says, die.
Yes, that is so good. I was thinking of actually what you said. I love when Crusher says, "Well, you've been a pain in our backside long enough." So when he's complaining about his back injury, or his description of when he falls asleep, Picard's like, "You fell asleep." Okay, when he was describing kind of slipping into unconsciousness. Oh God, this is pretty much every pick's going to be like this, just rattling off all the funny moments. There's just too much. Okay, let's close out round 5 with my round 5 pick and my 5 words and a hashtag. Don't pander to me, kid. Hashtag all I've got left is my bones. And it, of course, is Dr. McCoy, the Kelvin timeline version with Carl Urban from Star Trek 2009. I could not keep him off my list. The performance from Urban throughout the Kelvin movies is just an A+. He's consistently hilarious and smart, and he obviously is channeling DeForest Kelley in just an unreal way.
I told you people, I don't need a doctor. Damn it, I am a doctor.
You need to get back to your seat.
I had one in the bathroom with no windows. I suffer from aviophobia. It means fear of dying.
Sir, for your own safety, sit down, or else I'll make you sit down.
Fine.
Thank you.
This is Captain Pike. We can clear for takeoff.
I may throw up on you.
I think these things are pretty safe.
Don't pander to me, kid. One tiny crack in the hull and our blood boils in 13 seconds. Solar flare might crop up, cook us in our seats. And wait till you're sitting pretty with a case of Andorian shingles. See if you're still so relaxed when your eyeballs are bleeding. Space is disease and danger wrapped in darkness and silence.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but Starfleet operates in space.
Yeah, well, got nowhere else to go. The ex-wife took the whole damn planet in the divorce. All I got left is my bones.
Jim Kirk.
McCoy. Leonard McCoy.
This Bones is just glorious, and I'm praying that somehow we see him again. I picked 2009 because there's so many great one-liners, like the scene on the shuttle, and I really like the moment when Kirk and Spock are kind of going at it in the hearing about him cheating, and Kirk's like, "Who's that pointy-eared bastard?" And McCoy says, "I don't know, but I like him." so many great moments like that. But I also wanted to highlight him in Beyond because he is so awesome in Star Trek Beyond. And the scenes with him and Spock are just amazing throughout, but especially when Spock is hurt and they just crashed in that shuttle. And he's like, tell me one thing, Mr. Spock. What's your favorite color? And then he yanks the thing out of his side.
I can confirm that theory to be horse shit.
Right. And you gave your girlfriend a tracking advice. I mean, there's so many good one-liners from Carl Urban. I think he's hilarious. I love him. Yeah. Thad, what's your take on Carl Urban?
I'm really glad you picked him because he was on my secondary systems. Yeah. Carl Urban as Bones is my favorite character in the Kelvin movies, and he's just amazing. The one that always comes to me is also from Beyond when Spock gets beamed away and he's still there to face the danger, and he's like, well, that's just typical.
Yeah, that was so good. That was so good. And I thought you were good. There was the other one too where they recruited him to beam over to to Krall's drone fighter. He's like, I'm a doctor, not and then he beams out, so he didn't get to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Another great moment. Ron, how about you, man? What's your take on Carl Urban?
This is a great pick, and I honestly would not have thought about it, but as I think about it, this is a great choice. I think he portrays DeForest Kelley so well. Like, he channels him. That the first scene, the minute he steps on that shuttlecraft, that is Bones. There's no question about it. And that scene is in itself hilarious. And I don't need a doctor. I am a doctor. I might throw up on you. It's very the cantankerous nature of Bones right in that scene right away.
Yeah, that's great. And the one, and I'll say this, and this is not DeForest Kelley is amazing, and his character's hilarious too. But we saw so much of him that there's also that that cantankerous kind of almost mean-spirited McCoy too. You never really got that side of this McCoy because 6 hours of McCoy as opposed to 86 hours.
Well, and he's so much younger too. I think the McCoys that we're used to, it's easy to be an angry old man, but when you're the age that he is in the alternate universe, it makes him so much funnier.
Okay, so Thad, let's go to round 4. What's your number 4 pick?
Well, at the beginning of this episode, you said we are current through Picard, and my 5 words are snarky Romulans compliment Picard well, hashtag between a coot and a geezer. And I cheated a little. It is both Loris and Jabon from Picard Season 1, Episode 1, Remembrance, because they are awesome. I just love the little humorous jibes they get in at Picard's expense. It's just excellent.
Laris and Jabon, people, we have a historic first ever Picard pick here on episode 76 of Trek Ranks. Well done, Thad. So when I keep my notes on for the stats, I always write down TOS, TNG. I actually wrote down PIC just in case there was a Picard pick, and it's now eligible. So I have a little hashtag next to Picard. Ron, what's your take on Laris and Jabon? Because they are hilarious.
I love it. Like I said, Picard came out today. I've seen it, or the last episode came out today. I've seen it 3 times now, and they're hilarious. There's the scene this afternoon where she, I get their names confused still because it's also new, but she, go get yourself killed. Go with him. It's fine. Like it really is funny. And initially watching this episode, I wasn't sure in the first episode. Right off the bat, are they Romulan or are they Vulcan? It wasn't immediately made clear in the first few scenes. It comes very clear later on, but definitely not having that Vulcan sense of humor. I love this pick.
Those cheeky feckers. My favorite. I did I've been doing the reviews for Trek Core. I made sure to include it in there because I love the moment where she was like, she said only the Tau Shiar can protect you from the Tau Shiar. And he's like, yeah, she's right. We need to go with you. And she's just like, no, you idiot. He needs to not go. Yeah, Laris and Jabon is awesome, Thad. They are hilarious. Let's go to Ron. What is your number 4 pick?
So my 5 words are from Pit Boss to Nagus. And hashtag, oh, Nagus, my Nagus. It is Rom from Little Green Men, DS9, Season 4, Episode 8. And, Rom is one of those, we see him in the very beginning, and he's a very two-dimensional. He works for Quark. There's not much to him, and he just gets so fleshed out throughout the years, and he's hilarious. In Little Green Men, we have that scene where they're on the shuttle, and everything's about to just explode in all of our faces. And Rom, you're a genius when he suggests a way to fix the ship. Rom says, think so? How should I know? I have no idea what you're talking about. I've always been smart, brother. I just lack self-confidence. Like his little one-line zingers throughout the series are hilarious.
Yeah, Rom he's on my secondary systems. You can just hear him in your head of all these. No. So many great Rom moments. Thad, what's your take on Rom? What's your favorite Rom?
Rom is also on my secondary systems. He's great. He's funny in everything he does, and the parts that the one that I always think of because it's just so ridiculous is in Dr. Bashir, I presume, when Lita is about to go off with Zimmerman. And you hear slowly building just Rom yelling, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that's right.
And they're like, "Do you hear something?" And it's so good.
Yes, spectacular. I mean, there's so my brain just starts rattling off all these Rom moments. So I'm not just gonna sit here and go, man, that time when he did this and that and that. You guys all know Rom is hilarious, and I love your 5 words and hashtag because he ends up as the Nagus with Lita. It's so great. Okay, let's go to round 4. My number 4 pick. This one's a little bit outside the box. I don't think anyone else is going to have him. 5 words and a hashtag. Seriously underrated comedic actor. Hashtag nobody's going to put the bag on me anymore. And it is from TOS, James T. Kirk. A piece of the action is the episode I'm picking.
Yes.
And I wanted him to be represented because even though he's kind of this definitive Star Trek character of the last 50 years, the original captain, he is so underrated as a comedic actor and an overall actor, to say the least, William Shatner. The guy is an absolute genius. So I picked Piece of the Action because of all these amazing moments in that episode. Fizbin.
The name of the game is called Fizbin.
Fizbin.
It's not too difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can never do justice here. But I love this one line where he says, where he's explaining the rules and he's like, oh, look what you got. 2 jacks. You got half a Fizbin already. And the guy's like, oh, so I need another jack? No. If you get another jack, you'd have a shulk. He's just making this up as he goes.
Oh, look at that. You got another jack. How lucky you are. How wonderful for you. Now, if you didn't get another jack, if you had gotten a king, why, then you'd get another card, except when it's dark, when you'd have to give it back.
If it were dark on Tuesday.
Yes, but what you're after is a royal Fizbin, but the odds in getting a royal Fizbin are Spock, what are the odds in getting a royal Fizbin?
I've never computed them, Captain.
Well, they're astronomical, believe me.
It's genius, so good. And then the other moment where he's explaining, he's trying to talk to Scotty about, I'm gonna keep him here while we're got the old style phone calls. I'm gonna keep him on the blower so you can pick him up on the other end of the blower and give him a ride to this flop. And Scotty's like, what? He's like, just find the guy on the other end of the phone and beam him over here. Just great stuff. Trouble with Tribbles, Harry Mudd. It's nonstop. I love William Shatner as James T. Kirk as a comedic character. Thad, what's your take on that pick?
This is my chicken sandwich and coffee.
Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely love Kirk when he does the comedic lines. Those are perfect.
Yeah, there's so many from Trouble with Tribbles. On the contrary, Mr. Barris, I think if this project is very important, it's you I take lightly.
They like you, Mr. Barris. Well, there's no accounting for taste.
Of course, yep.
And of course, Star Trek 4. Well, a double dumbass on you.
Oh my goodness, Star Trek 4. Star Trek 4 is just nonstop across the board. Ron, what's your take on Kirk from TOS?
I love it. It's another pick that would not have crossed my mind, but now that you say it, Kirk's sense of humor is in itself funny. You had mentioned kind of sarcasm being part of your Prime Directive, and I can see him having a very sarcastic sense of humor. I think Kirk is the guy that if you play Monopoly with, you end up changing the rules, you end up seeing some cheating, but in a fun, lighthearted way. I love it. He's fun.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to summarize it. Okay. Let's move to the soup round 3. Thad, what's your number 3 comedic character?
All right, well, I think the Defiant better load some torpedo tubes here. My number 3 pick, my 5 words are Ultimate Trickster Won't Stay Away. # getting on my nerves now that I have them. It's TNG Season 3, Episode 13, Deja Q, and of course, Q.
I can't believe you got the same character and the same episode. That's impressive.
Yeah. Because it's the greatest Q episode.
But there's so many funny moments of Q. That's still against the odds. I love it.
It's amazing when you think about the only reason we have Q is because the studio told Roddenberry that the episode needed to be 2 hours.
Right.
And could you even imagine TNG without Q? He is just so much a part of that. And everything in just about every Q episode, he is hilarious. Well, he is hilarious in every episode. And he just has so many great lines, especially with Picard, but with other characters. Oh, very good, Worf. Eat any good books lately? And just, I love
Q. It's literally nonstop with Q.
We know you're behind this, Q.
These aren't my colors. And what are you blathering about, Riker?
What kind of twisted pleasure does it give you to bring terror into their lives?
Whose lives?
The millions of people down there who are watching as their moon falls out of the sky.
I haven't the vaguest idea what you're talking about, and I have a much more serious problem. I'm no longer a member of the Continuum. My superiors have decided to punish me.
Punish us as well, it would seem.
They say I've spread chaos through the universe, and they've stripped me of all my powers. You don't believe me, do you? Do you think I would humiliate myself like this?
If it served your purpose, yes.
It's the truth. I stand before you defrocked, condemned to be a member of this lowest of species, a normal, imperfect, lumpen human being.
I'm just my mind is racing. Ron, any other take on Q?
Episode 2, probably one of the most comedic episodes in Star Trek. You look at all the popular memes that come out of it, and you've got facepalm Picard, you've got Data laughing.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, Deja Q, genius.
I used the Q as a mariachi band member GIF all the time.
Oh, that's right, and the Data laugh too. Amazing. Yeah, it's all there. Sorry, I think you said that. Okay, anyway, let's go to Ron, Super Round pick. What's your number 3 comedic character?
My number 3 comedic character, the 5 words are Picard and Odo love interest. # daughter of the 5th house, holder of the sacred chalice, heir to the holy rings of Beta Z. And it's Loxana Troy. TNG season 5, episode 20, The Cost of Living.
Awesome. That's a great pick.
You know, I struggle with her because her character is so deep. She really does have a lot of pain in her background, and she really is a rich character, but she's also hilarious. In this episode in particular, we see her going back to constantly wanting to find love and find a husband, which is comedic, but also kind of tragic in its own way. But she has such a lighthearted way about her that is so much fun to watch and listen to. You know, I almost went with the # ha, because it's just perfect from this episode.
I love this pick. I never thought of her for some reason, but she is so funny in how she is so dismissive of some of the things happening around her and kind of obtuse to them because she's, well, I mean, in some ways, because she's Loxana, where she's kind of thinking about her own stuff. And Cost of Living, I mean, that episode is out there. Absolutely.
The higher the viewer.
Absolutely out there. Dad, any take on Loxana?
I love Loxana. Some of her episodes may not be the greatest episodes of Star Trek, but you can tell that Majel is really getting into the role and that the character herself is great. I mean, you remember when I did TNG Guilty Pleasures, one of my episodes was Ménage à Troy, and Loxana was a big part of that. And I think that, yeah, she's just great. I always get a smile on my face when Loxana comes on the screen.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say one of my TNG Guilty Pleasures was Haven, because of Loxana's scenes when she's just driving that other woman batty at the dinner, and she's like just trying
Would
to.
Would you please continue the petty bickering?
Yeah, exactly. And Manhunt's really funny too, because the way she thinks she's, got this kind of inroad with Picard until she finally just kind of realizes, oh yeah, what am I doing? That is an inspired. She falls for the
hologram. Yeah, that was a good one.
Exactly, and then because then she finds out too, and she's just kind of like miffed. She's not like mad, but she's just like, yeah, okay, good joke, you guys. It was good. That is an inspired outside the box pick. I love it. All right, let's go to my round 3 pick. I'm going to do my 5 words and a hashtag, but I'm going to flip it. I'm going to do my hashtag first. Hashtag improvisation is 5 words, not foremost among my strengths. And it is everyone's favorite Vulcan, other than Spock, Tuvok from Voyager. Live Fast and Prosper is my episode.
Yes.
There are so many options when it comes to Tuvok's dry wit and sarcasm, because I mean, it's literally one of my favorite things about Voyager is literally almost every line coming out of Tuvok's mouth. And I almost actually picked Mobar from this episode too, who's the alien that was impersonating Tuvok, because it was hilarious every time they were trying to pull their scam, and then he'd be like, the Federation policy is to have an applicant, and the captain Dala would have to cut him off. Like, okay, thank you, Tuvok, because he was getting into his role. But I love this moment in this episode where Janeway's asking Tuvok to kind of improvise a little bit of a scam on Dala, the fake Janeway. And she's basically saying, hey, tell her about these terrible prisons on, I can't even remember the planet. And he says, they are barely habitable. Inmates often die of malnutrition before they're brought to trial. Torture is commonplace, as is disease, including several incurable forms of psoriasis. And it is a genius moment of just deadpan dry wit from Tuvok, who has a ton of lines like that, from Innocence, what are your children like? Well behaved. And from The Bride of Chaotica, when Tom Paris is just saying, talking about Chaotica's death ray, it's a shame we don't have one. Breakfast is up from Future's End. There's so many. I could just keep going on here. Even when he first meets Neelix, perhaps you would care for a bath.
Yes. Oh my God. Tuvok is amazing.
Learning Curve, which we did Delta Flyer, your podcast.
Yes, you did.
When he says to crewman Henley, your headband is certainly festive, but it is not appropriate. Anyway, there's a million. I can just keep going. I'm probably going to drop some of these in. We are not designing a hot rod, Mr. Paris. Computer, delete dynametric tail fins. Thad, what's your take on Tuvok?
I love Tuvok. He is actually my favorite Vulcan. He even edges out Spock for me. Yeah, he's the king of the snarky one-liner.
Yep. He is hilarious. Ron, how about you, man?
I love it. I think he's the ultimate straight man too.
Yeah, he really is.
He's not the one that has the zinger. His reaction, which is so deadpan, obviously being a Vulcan, works so well with so many other characters.
God, I could keep going. Okay, I'm going to stop. We're going to drop.
I think that one too. It helps that Tim Russ is hilarious as well. If you ever seen him at the conventions,
yeah, he's just he is a funny dude. Yeah, let's go to round 2. Thad, who is your number 2 comedic character?
Okay, so my 5 words are unforgettable actor playing unforgettable Ferengi. Hashtag. Well, I ended up doing hashtag greedy eternal because I couldn't figure out how to write hashtag.
Oh my God.
It's Grand Nagus Zek. Because who doesn't love Grand Nagus Zek? And the episode I went with was DS9 Season 3, Episode 16, Profit Motive. But I could just as easily have picked almost any other episode he's in. Not Profit and Lace. But Wallace Shawn plays Zek as such a hilarious character, and he just leans into the role of this ridiculous caricature, even a caricature of Ferengi, like who are already themselves a caricature, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I literally can't stop laughing at your hashtag, which I'm not going to try to impersonate. But Wallace Shawn is such a unique actor. He brings so much to that role. It's usually over the top, but it is undeniably hilarious no matter what you think of Ferengi and Ferengi episodes. Ron, what's your take on Grand Nagus Zek?
I'm so disappointed that I didn't think of this one. This is such a great pick. I mean, Zek is hilarious. Wallace Shawn plays him perfectly. Yeah, everything about this character is just fun. Every scene that he has on screen, he's a good example of somebody. I don't think he ever has a serious scene in the show, but it works, being that he is still the leader of the Ferengi Alliance. You don't second guess it.
Yeah, for sure. I just think of it, the Beatles snuff and
not so much fun for the Beatles.
And that voice, there's nothing like that voice.
Oh God, I can't. I have to force myself to not try to impersonate him. Okay, let's go to Ron's round 2 pick. What do you got, Ron?
All right, round 2. I have my 5 words: Schmullis, Van Gogh, Kenneth, and Joe.
All right.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency. And I chose a Body and Soul from Voyager, season 7, episode 7, The Doctor. And I chose this episode specifically because I think the most comedic performance I can recall from The Doctor is not played by Robert Picardo, but it's played by Jerry Ryan as the Doctor when he's possessed her body. And drinking and flirting and just experiencing life for the first time in a way that he's never been able to. Just absolutely love his portrayal of this character and love her portrayal of his character.
Yeah, I mean, the doctor. Oh my God. He's on my secondary systems. I really, really, really wanted to keep him on the list. I mean, what can you say? The emergency command hologram and Tinker Tenor Dr. Spy is one of the funniest episodes in the history of Trek. And again, I could just start rattling off one-liners, but that might get old, or maybe it already has, because I said about 10 of them from Tuvok. Dad, what's your take on the EMH?
I love the Doctor. The Doctor is great. Probably one of the funniest lines he has is from Threshold, actually. When Paris starts choking and is sent to sickbay, and the doctor says he appears to be having an allergic reaction. What did he eat? And this is just a cup of Neelix's coffee. I'm surprised he's still alive.
Yeah, I was going to say Message in a Bottle for me is probably the one where
yes.
When Andy Dick
Stop breathing down my neck. Yes. It's a holographic neck. So's my breath.
He says, my breathing's a simulation. So is my neck.
That's it, yeah. Yes, there we go.
Yeah, those two together. Genius. And Robert Picardo, amazing, hilarious actor. And when he gets to play Zimmerman too. Zimmerman's hilarious. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's that is a role that was an absolute gift for Trek fans. Okay, my round 2 pick, 5 words and a hashtag. Oh, this goes nicely with your pick. Exercise Punishment Program 9 Alpha. Hashtag fun will now commence. And it is yes. 7 of 9. The Doctor's Friend from Voyager. My episode is Ashes to Ashes. And it's not the fun will now commence is obviously very well known, but
fun will now commence.
I like before that or just a little after that, when they start like getting in trouble because a couple of the kids are cheating, and she's telling them all basically, you will exercise punishment program 9 Alpha, which is basically sit in the corner.
They're cheating.
How?
Azan is using his neural interface to share information.
Is this true? You will exercise punishment protocol 9 Alpha.
If they cannot participate, neither will I.
You're encouraging disorder.
And you never let us do what we want.
You will exercise punishment protocol 9 Alpha.
No, I won't.
So I love 7 of 9. She's one of the smartest and most biting characters in Trek history. She's got incredible comedic timing. So many great. I mean, all you have to do is hear her say, Naomi Wildman, subunit of Ensign Samantha Wildman. State your intentions. I mean, that is hilarious. When in Bride of Chaotica, when she goes along to play and the Satan's robot attacks her and she literally unplugs him in 2 seconds. The robot has been neutralized. May I leave now? So, yeah, so many great moments. Thad, what's your take on 7 of 9?
I love 7 of 9. She's an amazing character, and yeah, much in the same way that Tuvok has these dry commentary that he may not even intend to be funny. 7 of 9 does the same thing, and she does it so well.
Exactly, and that kind of fits like what Ron was saying, and crosses over to mine. That I mean, everything is weighted and heavy, and it never takes you out of it. The humor. Ron, how about you with 7 of 9?
It's a great pick. The episode that comes to mind for me is Infinite Regress, when she is breaking into all these different characters, and particularly she breaks into the role of a Ferengi.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's interested in buying the Doctor from sickbay, and Janeway just dismisses it as he's secondhand merchandise. You wouldn't want him, and she's, that's fine then. Moves right on. Love Jerry Ryan.
All right, I'm going to give 2 more here because one of them was also from Message in a Bottle. I love that moment where the Hirogen is trying to break up their connection to the Alpha Quadrant, and he just kind of shows up and he's not letting them do it. And then Janeway, Torres, and 7 are trying to figure out what to do, and all of a sudden he gets shocked and kind of falls over.
He's trying to jam the link again. There must be some room for negotiation. Isn't there anything you might accept in exchange for... What happened?
I generated a feedback surge along our sensor link.
You killed him?
It was a mild shock. He will recover.
And when he does?
He wasn't responding to diplomacy.
Is the sensor link stable?
Yes, Captain.
Keep watching for the doctor. Let me know if our friend gives us any more trouble.
It was a mild shock. He will recover. He was not responding to diplomacy. It is the funniest moment. And then when she's cooking for the crew in the void, and everyone's saying, "Oh, can I get this?" Substitutions are not recommended.
Pinot Noir, Commander? I'll have another glass of the Chardonnay.
Each course has been paired with a specific wine. Substitutions are not recommended.
The Pinot Noir sounds perfect. Is there any salt?
Additional seasoning is not required.
I'm sorry,
If the quail hasn't been prepared to your satisfaction, I could replicate something more to your liking. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich, perhaps.
Actually, it's delicious, just the way it is.
Can I get some salt? Additional seasoning is not required. Yeah, she is hilarious. We love her. All right, let's go to round one. And Thad, what's your number one comedic character?
All right. So apparently Ron and I are on the same wavelength here because my number one, my 5 words are the capacity to enjoy enjoyment. And the hashtag is the higher the fewer. It is Loxana Troy from TNG Season 5, Episode 20, Cost of Living. And I guarantee that's the first time that's been a duplicate on this show.
Wow, I am amazed. I can't believe you guys both picked her in the same episode. That is incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Cost of Living is not a very good episode, in my opinion. But when we're talking about Loxana Troy and her being comedic, it is a perfectly great episode. Viewed just from that lens. I couldn't let a list like this go by without bringing up, the queen of Star Trek. And she is, because of how oblivious she is to everyone else, which in and of itself is hilarious because she's from a telepathic, empathic race and therefore shouldn't be oblivious to anything. And she just goes along with her own stuff and everything revolves around her. Just the way that she plays that and has all these hilarious interactions with everyone is just amazing.
That's a really good breakdown of Loxana Troy. Ron, anything to add on Mama Troy?
Great pick, great episode. I agree with you. It's not the best episode, but it fits her comedic style perfectly. From the very first scene that she interacts with Alexander, Worf, Alexander have been talking to Counselor Troy about this contract and how to make it work, and she immediately breaks down all the work that Deanna has done to try to fix their problem. You can't do a contract, it doesn't work. To the scene where she's tapping on the computer trying to interact basically with herself, which is in itself kind of funny when you think about it. She's incredible.
Counselor Troy, excuse the intrusion, but we're having some difficulty drawing up our contract. Mrs. Troy.
He's not fair.
The boy is unreasonable.
Well, of course he's unreasonable. He's a child. Aw, it's such a child. Making little boys reasonable only gives them pimples.
Alexander, this is my mother.
Alexander? What a wonderful name. I once knew a tall, handsome warrior named Alexander. Oh, he utterly adored me. And we went everywhere, simply everywhere. Have you been anywhere yet? Contract? What contract?
Between father and son. A fair and balanced way to achieve a mutual sense of order.
Well, how ghastly for you. And you are doing this to your own child, Mr. Wolf?
Mother?
It is Worf, madam.
It really is great the way she's encouraging Alexander to kind of be beyond what kind of the rules and regulations that he's a little bit trapped in there with Worf. All right, I am amazed. I did not think of her. I'm really fired up that you guys both picked her. That is a cool pick. Man, we got a lot of cool stats here. I can't wait to get to those. All right, Ron, what's your number one pick?
So I kind of cheated with my number one pick, but my 5 words are greedy, misogynistic, untrustworthy little trolls. Hashtag, but a lot of fun. I chose the Ferengi from the Magnificent Ferengi in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Ooh, so you, I love it.
Nice.
So you picked the whole crew.
had to pick the whole race.
So much to talk about.
I love their story. They start from supposedly being the next nemesis for the Federation in Next Generation to literally being the comic relief in Deep Space Nine. Every episode in Deep Space Nine that features the Ferengi, with maybe one exception, I find to be the funnest episodes of that series. They're so lighthearted, they're fun, they're gross little capitalistic guys, but deep down they do well in there. It's hard not to love their characters.
It is crazy when you think about how they started and where they ended up. I mean, I'm, full disclosure, I'm never been a huge Ferengi guy in terms of TNG, and then even in Deep Space Nine, when it was Ferengi episode, my first reaction was like, "Oh, okay, all right, it's time for a Ferengi episode." It's not going to be the kind of ones I love. Obviously, there are a lot of exceptions to that with Magnificent Ferengi and Looking for Parmak in all the wrong places. There's a million of them I love. But now, as I look back, man, it is quite a feat that they made them so impactful and so important in that series. And as part of Trek, really to salvage them. I mean, Ira Stephen Bear is basically the guy who did that. Thad, what's your take on the Ferengi as a pick?
I love it. This is an inspired pick. The entire Ferengi race. Yeah, that's amazing.
All right, well let's just go to my number one pick, since we can kind of continue this conversation. 5 words and a hashtag. Good customers, rare as Latinum. Hashtag treasure them. It is Quark.
Nice.
From the episode The Armageddon Game. And it is, of course, Armin Shimmerman as Quark. I did not expect Quark to be my number one choice here. But as I was going through this list, one of the things that kept jumping out to me that I love about Quark so much, and literally against all odds, he ended up as my number one, is his ability. He's always funny. And his ability to do that, no matter how intense or sad or grandiose or subtle the scene is supposed to be, he is always on point. He's always funny, and it's always the exact right tone. And I'm going to give you the reason I chose the Armageddon Game from Deep Space Nine is because this is the perfect example of this. So there's this moment where they all think Julian and O'Brien have died, and so Kira and Dax are in Quarks, and they're basically talking about it and having a drink, and they are really sad, and they're kind of having this sad moment, thinking about the loss of their friends. And Quark comes over, and I'm going to play that clip right now.
These are on the house.
How come?
I thought we'd have a toast to the memory of Chief O'Brien and Dr. Bashir.
That's very thoughtful, Quark.
I can be thoughtful. To our dear departed comrades, we may have had our differences, but I'll say this for them, and it's the highest tribute I can think of. They were good customers. They always paid their bar bills on time.
That's it?
I'm not done yet. At times like this, I'm reminded of the 57th rule of acquisition. Good customers are as rare as Latinum. Treasure them.
So for me, I mean, that line, the way when Kira says, "That's it," and he says, "I'm not done yet," and then he keeps going, the way he delivers that line, "I'm not done yet," is so funny. And there's a bunch of moments like this. There's also one from The Homecoming, which is the great opening of season 2 with the return of Lee Nallis, and Quark gets jumped in the bar, and there's a lot of tense stuff going on. He's getting tended to. They're worried about the circle and this kind of terrorist attack in terms of the things they're doing, and they're talking about, they're educating Lee Nallis about how the government's not very strong, and Quark just says, "Well, the government better get organized because I intend to sue for financial compensation." And so it says, "Not now, Quark." And again, the line, it's amazing because it's funny, but it doesn't take you out of the scene. It doesn't ruin. It's really it's a very difficult thing to do, what Quark does. He's always funny. It doesn't matter how intense or dramatic or scary or sad the scene is. 7 seasons, always funny, and I love it. I love the guy. Come to Quarks. Quarks is fun. Don't walk, run.
Don't walk, run.
I am Quark, the son of Keldar, and I have come to answer the challenge of Dagor, son of whatever. Anyway, Quark's the best. He's my number one. I was kind of surprised that I went through this and he ended up in the top spot. So I'm glad that came on the heels of your pick, Ron. What's your take on Quark, Ron?
The Ferengi are my favorite. I'm not going to lie. They are my absolute favorite species in all of Star Trek. I find everything about them to be hilarious. And you look at Quark, and who is the most funny person you could possibly set Quark up with? A very serious Klingon woman, Grilka. And sure enough, they end up getting married. Everything about him, like you said, is funny. It lends itself to great humor. And he sets off, Deep Space Nine was criticized for being a darker version of Star Trek. And then you've got Quark and the Ferengi presence, and I think they really do bring a lot of levity to that series and just make it so much fun.
Yeah, well said. Thad, how about you, man?
I love Quark. Quark is amazing. Yeah, he's hilarious. He's great. One that always comes to mind for me for whatever reason is actually Voyager and Caretaker, the scene that he has with Harry Kim, where he's like, give me the name of the person at the Academy that warned you about Ferengi. And then Kim's like, okay, I'll buy this. It'll make good earrings for my mother. Or cufflinks for your father.
Yes, that was absolutely perfect too. So good. So many great ones. All right, any secondary systems picks from you guys?
I had Neelix on my secondary systems because he definitely has his comedic times. I also had Harcourt Fenton Mudd. And
that's good too. Yeah,
Chell from Voyager.
I like that. Chell is great. I don't understand what I could have possibly done to warrant inclusion.
Still, the fact remains. That is, if I may have permission to speak, Lieutenant. Thank you. As I was saying, the fact remains that you must have noticed certain problems with each member of this select group, or we wouldn't be here. I frankly can't imagine what I might have done that warrants my inclusion.
Crewman Shell.
In fact,
your report indicates that you are talkative, disruptive, and unreliable. You promise to do tasks which then go undone.
that is a complete exaggeration. Just yesterday, I overhauled the servicing system.
Crewman, from this point on, you will speak only if you are spoken to.
But, Lieutenant, I'm just trying...
40 laps around the cargo bay. Start running now.
But...
50 laps.
Yes.
Ron, how about you, man? Any secondary systems picks?
Yeah, I had Neelix. I had a couple from Discovery, actually. I had Linus, who we don't see much of. When we see him, he's got something funny to say.
Oh, that's great. Linus is awesome.
Jet Reno. I'm hoping she's back in season 3. I really... Tig Notaro is hilarious, and I like Jet. I really want to see more of her.
Yeah, that is a hilarious pick. She is... she's awesome. I love it. That's fantastic. All right, any more on yours?
Just Dr. Phlox.
Oh, that's another good one. Enterprise. Yep, getting a shout out.
And then my absolute last one that I almost had in my top 5 was a 2-parter, Data / Mr. Tricorder.
Oh, that's kind of... The Mr. Tricorder was kind of creepy, though.
Right.
Because he was starting to get a little off the edge. Well, Data was my toughest cut. Absolutely.
Yeah, Data is definitely...
Yeah.
Was not on my list because for some reason I didn't think of him, but yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I definitely thought of him. I thought he would for sure would be on my list. I mean, he's my number 2 all-time favorite character. I honestly can't believe I didn't pick him, but yeah, he ended up being my toughest cut.
Audience program off.
And I had the Doctor on my list, too. I had Rom, which you picked. Love him. I had Kevon, the awesome Vorta from Rocks and Shoals and the Magnificent Ferengi. I hate Ferengi.
Truer words were never spoken.
And a special shout out to, you mentioned him early on, Ron, the comedian, Joe Piscopo, the least funny stand-up comedian I've ever seen.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Oh, man, that's just brutal. Okay. I knew this was going to be a great topic. Hilarious. And we got a few deep cut picks there and some regulars. Let's get into our regeneration cycle so we can recap our picks and then go through, I guess, a lot of stats here. This is going to be fun.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Thad, rattle off your top 5.
Okay. 5 was Berlinghoff Rasmussen from TNG Season 5, Episode 9, A Matter of Time. Number 4 is Laris and Jaban from Picard Season 1, Episode 1, Remembrance. Number 3 was Q from TNG Season 3, Episode 13, Deja Q. Number 2 is Grand Nagus Zek from DS9 Season 3, Episode 16, Profit Motive. And number 1 was Luoxana Troy from TNG Season 5, Episode 20, Cost of Living.
Amazing list. I can't believe you guys had 2 duplicates.
With the same episode.
Okay, Ron, what was let's hear your top 5.
All right, so number 5, I had Q from TNG Season 3, Episode 13, Deja Q. Number 4, I had Rom from DS9, Season 4, Episode 8, Little Green Men. Number 3 was Luoxana Troy, Next Generation, Season 5, Episode 20, The Cost of Living. Number 2 was the Doctor from Voyager, Season 7, Episode 7, Body and Soul. And number 1 was the entire Ferengi species, primarily looking at Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 10, The Magnificent Ferengi.
An awesome cheat. I forgot to recap. So, Thad, you had 3 from TNG, 1 from DS9 and 1 from Picard. Ron, you had 2 from TNG and 2 from Deep Space Nine and 1 from Voyager. And my top 5 was from the Kelvin timeline, Star Trek 2009, Dr. McCoy, played by Carl Urban. My number 4 pick was from TOS, A Piece of the Action, James T. Kirk, the OG captain. My number 3 pick was from Voyager, Live Fast and Prosper, Tuvok. My number 2 pick, also from Voyager, from the episode Ashes to Ashes, 7 of 9. And my number 1 pick from Deep Space Nine in the episode Armageddon Game, Quark. So I spread it around. I had 1 from DS9, TOS, and the Kelvin timeline, and 2 from Voyager. Okay, let's break down a bunch of stats. The series breakdown was 1 each from TOS, the Kelvin timeline, and Picard, the Picard series. So there was no picks from Enterprise or Discovery. And then Voyager had 3 picks, Deep Space Nine 4 picks, and TNG led the way with 5 picks. So I broke it down here. We had 9 aliens were picked, 7 recurring characters were picked. We had only 6 regulars were picked. 5 of those were mine because all mine were pretty much regulars. We had really only one-off character. That was Berlinghoff Rasmussen. And there was 4 humans, 1 EMH, and we had the Ferengi trifecta with Quark, Rom, and the Grand Nagus. So that, plus all the Ferengi. So well done, Ron. Good job. That's quite a breakdown. All right, as we do every week, we've once again entered a temporal causality loop. So before we can depart, it's time to hear from you.
The Enterprise has been caught up in a temporal causality loop, and I suspect that something similar may have happened to you.
And for this week's temporal causality loop, we're going back to episode 71 and our top 5 meta Trek references, which has to be one of the most popular topics we've ever done. It was a really, really cool episode. First up is a voicemail from Adam Sanders, who is at MetsFan1701. He had an awesome list of picks, and I really love his number one. So let's play his voicemail now.
Hey, Jim, this is Adam Sanders, MetsFan6986, with my top 5 meta moments. First, from Kelvin Timeline, Star Trek Beyond, 5 words. It's feeling a little episodic. Hashtag same outfit, different day. When Kirk looks in the closet and sees all the yellow shirts he has to wear every single day. Next, TOS Bread and Circuses, 5 words. Do a special on you. Hashtag not the sun, the sun. Kirk heard that TV was similar, and the ratings would suffer if things didn't go well. From DS9, One Little Ship, 5 words. Story of a little ship. Hashtag honey, I shrunk the runabout. Kira's reaction to the silliness of the concept spoke for everybody watching at home. From TNG, The Naked Now, 5 words. I'm programmed in multiple techniques. Hashtag if you prick me, do I not leak? And you know Data found the solution for Dr. Crusher on Memory Alpha when he was doing research. And my last one's it's a meta concept. From Airplane 2, the sequel, 5 words. Make them blink in sequence. Hashtag irony can be pretty ironic sometimes, with William Shatner starring. The lights that he was looking at were from Regular One in The Wrath of Khan, and the nurse was played by Louise Sorel, who played Raina in Requiem for Methuselah. The most meta you can get. Love TrekRanks, love the show, and thanks for listening.
All right, great list from Adam. And just to recap that number one pick, he chose William Shatner in Airplane 2, who had a bunch of awesome meta Trek references in the episode, but then he doubled down, and I never knew this because one of his scenes was with Louise Sorel, who played Raina in Requiem for Methuselah. So that's really cool. I need to see that again. I always remember that Airplane 2 from that moment when he was standing in front of the. It looked like he was on the screen, and the door opens and he walks out. It was.
I forgot he was in that. That is such a good movie.
So funny. Okay, a couple more picks I'm going to rattle off here that I really love that we got in on Twitter. First, They Might Be Geeks, a.k.a. Mr. Warp Bubble, who is at They Might Be Geek on Twitter. That is Dana Kennedy, who's been on our show a few times, Static Warp Bubble. That's her husband, and he said, I think my favorite Meta Trek reference is Kelvin versus Kirk being a Beastie Boys fan, when the band themselves reference Trek constantly in their lyrics. And that's really cool. I never thought of that, and I love that reference. Joshua Zeller, who is at Madcap of Science, one of his picks was Reginald Barkley as a stand-in for awkward fans, meeting Zephram Cochrane, which I hadn't thought of either. That's a really good one. Our friend Alex Perry, who's been on the show many times, this is a great one that we didn't have on the show that we should have, but it was the captain's log from the episode Legacy when Picard reads off, the Enterprise has bypassed its scheduled archaeological survey of Camus 2, and that reference is because that was TNG's 80th episode, which the reference referred to the planet in TOS's 79th episode, Turnabout Intruder, and this was when TNG passed TOS with 80 episode count over TNG. So I thought that was a really cool one. And then finally, Jen Tift, Edek Quarks on Twitter, been on the show many times as well. I cannot believe we forgot this one on the show, but she had the GNDN labeling that's been on Trek from TOS straight through to now, pretty much. And that is the reference GNDN. Goes nowhere, does nothing on a lot of the background walls and pipings and whatnot. Great one. Awesome episode. More than enough to get us out of this week's temporal causality loop. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great picks. So keep them coming to me at TrekRanks on Twitter or at Enterprise Extra so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So please put together your own list of top 5 comedic characters or a list from any of our past shows. Give us a call at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. at 609-512-LLAP. We love getting your voicemails. We've been getting a lot lately, so been able to play those. Hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of Trek Ranks. And on the next episode of Trek Ranks, we're going to do, it's a pretty interesting topic. It's going to be fun to see how this one works out. We are doing our top 5 WTF moments. That's right. It's our top 5 what the f moments. There'll be a lot of bleeping in that episode because I just bleeped that. So Thad and Ron, here we go, man. If you had to choose one WTF moment off the top of your head, what would it be, Thad? What do you got, man? A WTF moment.
There was a moment where I literally yelled, "What the f*** in Discovery," but now I'm trying to remember what it was.
Oh, I wish you could remember. That sounds good. That sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, I don't remember, unfortunately.
All right. Well, that's actually that's good enough.
Fair enough.
Because you got an F-bomb, so that was good.
Okay.
How about you, Ron? Can you think of one WTF moment?
I guess for me, it would be the end of season 1 of Discovery when the Enterprise appears.
Oh, so that's a good one. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's actually a really good one. That was a serious WTF moment. I did not expect
that. Literal chills when a ship showed up and you heard that music. Oh, yeah.
That was I love that. That's a good pick. So it's gonna be interesting to hear what people's Prime Directives are on this one. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a fun topic. I've got a long list ready to go already. So all right. Well, before we wrap it up, a huge thanks to Thad, Hait, and Ron Worbel for coming on the show again. Great to have you guys both on. Thad, any final Trek subspace communications you want to relay to everybody before we depart?
Watch Picard. It's awesome.
It certainly is. And Ron,
keep up the content.
I love it. We'll hopefully we'll get you guys on again. And thanks for taking the time. And thank you for listening and engaging with us here again on episode 76 of the Trek Ranks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
Their goal is to rid Bajor of all non-Bajorans.
Hasn't the provisional government tried to stop them?
Oh, they've tried. But the truth is, the Circle is more organized than the government.
Well, the government better get organized because I intend to sue them for financial compensation.
Not now, Quark.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire Trek Ranks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
Engage monitor.
Come to Quark's. Quark is fun. Come right now. Don't walk. Run! Oh, I love the part where my name rotates around.